Hey everyone, I hope everyone is having a great week and a great day and is excited to spend another evening, a couple hours playing some D&D 4th edition. I have been excited about this stream, and it's going to be a little different for me since it's going to involve some role playing, so I'm not exactly sure how it's going to go. For those that maybe have not seen the last couple streams that we've done, we've started playing through Keep on the Shadowfell, which is the first adventure released for D&D 4th edition. And I'm kind of doing it as a demo slash playthrough, so I'm really pretty much sharing everything that would happen behind the DM screen, looking for feedback from the chat for what we want the characters to do. Last week we had a combat encounter, and that worked really well. I think I got a lot of really good feedback from everybody that had joined with what the different characters should do, and we had some really interesting tactics that we used to defeat the kobolds that were attacking us. So it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it a lot. This week we go into the second part of this adventure module, and for those of you that may have heard stories that D&D 4th edition took away role-playing and it's nothing but combat, you might be surprised to learn that the next part of this adventure is role-playing. The characters are going to go into the town of Winterhaven, and we are going to do talking with some NPCs, and we can check out some of the buildings that are there and try to learn what is going on and pick up some quests along the way. So yeah, just the second part of this adventure is actually role-playing. So we'll give it a try. I don't know exactly how I'm going to run it. I'm going to kind of just play both the characters and the DM, and I'll move the characters around and kind of take them through the way I feel that they would. But if there's feedback from the chat, I will try to make sure I provide plenty of opportunity for anyone in the chat that has some thoughts about what the character should do, to please, feel free to share those, and I'll lean into that as much as I possibly can. So that's kind of the plan. And if, we'll try to get better at it and figure out how it goes. So I'm looking forward to giving it a try, and we'll see what happens. So, hey, Trinell, hey, Emmy, how you doing? Glad to see you back again. So we'll see how this one goes. I'm excited. I expect we'll probably do the role playing part, and then hopefully there will be time. There is another combat that'll come after that one. So we'll see how it goes. All right. So let's see. What do we want to do? So I mentioned that I'm going to share as much as I can. We'll take a look at Winterhaven in the adventure module first. I'll kind of give you a little peek of how it's set up in the module with the different locations and just some of the NPCs. We'll just kind of glance at it. And then we'll just play through it and see how it goes. I was not going to go through all the characters in this session here. Last two sessions, we actually used the same characters. So, and I went through the details of the characters in those. So I wasn't going to do that here. If you don't have the characters and you want them, the link to get them from my website is down in the description. I added backstories for all of the characters so that we could maybe use that as we're doing some role playing. So that is in the latest character sheets on my website. So if you want to get those, you can go ahead and download them from there. The plain character sheets, these are characters all from the Keep on the Shadowfell module. So if you want to get that module, it is free from DriveThruRPG, and that link is also down in the description. So you could just pick up the module for free. And the stats and everything are the same. I changed Magic Missile for Alara, but other than that, the stats are the same. And then for the ones on my website, you do get the backstory. So if you want to see the descriptions of the characters, in last week's stream, just for reference, timestamp 12 minutes and 27 seconds. If you go to that timestamp, we went through all the characters and looked at what they could do. So, but I'm going to forego doing that in this one. So, since we did that last week, but I do want to take a look at the backstories so that we can get a feel for, kind of who these characters are and maybe how they would react to being in Winterhaven and the types of interactions that they might have with some of the NPCs. So I will go through those. And like I said, if you have the character sheets, you'll see these on one of the back pages of the character sheet, but I'm going to pull them up here so that we can have a look at them. So let me let me do that. I'm going to flip over and we will have a look at that. So we're going to start out in Winterhaven, and so the first character that we'll take a look at for backstory is going to be Elara. She is our human wizard, and let me flip over to the backstory page. And sorry, it's a little, I didn't do a very good job of getting that cleaned up. So there we go. So she was the one that I actually put together the biggest backstory for. It wasn't intentional, but as I started writing a backstory for her, it just kind of became a little more involved, and I realized I could make a connection to the adventure that seemed like a pretty good fit. So the bottom line for her backstory is that she grew up in the Harkenwold region of the Winterhaven in the village of Albridge, and was being raised by her parents, who were scholars, and she was studying the various arcane magical arts. But then at some point, her parents disappeared. They went on a journey and never returned, and she ended up having to get raised by her aunt and uncle, who were not of the same scholarly level, if you will, as her parents. And so eventually she did that for a little bit, but then decided to set out on her own. And as it turns out, she's actually the most well-traveled member of this party. She has been through all the different towns in the Winterhaven, and is so she's the most familiar with every place in here. Maybe not all the different lore and all the things that are going on, but she's at least been to all the different places. So she would be the one that the party probably leans on if they're trying to get some information about something. So and because she is highly educated, so that could come in handy as they're talking to different NPCs. But she also is untrained. She had some good training when she was younger, but with her parents disappearing, that has kind of impacted her ability to actually hone those skills. So, and then her goal basically is to just improve her knowledge and grow her power. And then she basically is going to take any quest to do that. I don't feel that she's really on a journey to try to find out what happened to her parents. She's curious about that, but that was so long ago for her that it's not something that's a driving force for her. I have these complications that I put at the bottom of the backstories, and these are kind of more almost notes for the dungeon master that would be based on the backstory for this character, something that we could use to make things a little more interesting for that character. So in this case, spoiler alert, I'm going to tie her to the main villain of this adventure. So Calorel is the main bad guy in this, and it seems to make sense based on this backstory that that is actually her father. So that will come out as we go through this. Hopefully, we'll see. This is the type of thing that I feel like it's a good idea to, we could tie this adventure to one of the characters in this story. So that's kind of where I went with this one. So we'll see how that plays out if we actually follow through on that. So I'm interested to see. So hey, Sean, I see you joined as well. Welcome. Welcome back. And hopefully we have a good time with this one tonight. I do have a poll out there and it looks like people have been responding to it. So trying to see what daily spell Elara should have prepared for today. She's got Acid Arrow and she has Sleep. So we need to decide which one she is going to use as her spell for today. So it looks like quite a few people have voted in that already. If you have not, then please do so we can get Elara her spell. Yeah, Trinell, role-playing in 4th edition, this is one of those things that is often talked about as like the biggest complaint about 4th edition. It completely removed role-playing and it's nothing about combat. What I find interesting is as I was going through this adventure, it occurred to me, I was like, there's a lot of adventures that start out where the first thing you do is some sort of combat encounter. Like in this case, you're walking down the road and you get attacked by goblins. So that happens here. If you look at Lost Mine of Phandelver, the first thing that happens to the party is they're traveling in a wagon and they get attacked by goblins. Here it was kobolds, not goblins. But they get attacked by goblins in the Lost Mine of Phandelver. In Lost Mine of Phandelver, they actually then go on a little dungeon crawl into the goblin lair and they have to do a bunch of combat in there to fight off those goblins. and then they finally get into Phandalin. Well, here you do the first combat adventure, but the very next thing you do is role-playing. You go into a town and you have to talk to a bunch of NPCs and learn what's going on. So if you're looking at a 1-to-1 ratio of the first adventures that were released for 4th edition to 5th edition, 4th edition gets to the role-playing a lot faster than 5th edition did. So I just thought that was an interesting thing as I was preparing for this particular session. So, all right, let's take a look at our next character is Haldor. Haldor is our dwarf fighter, and the backstory I put for him, he is actually getting up there in years and was once a renowned fighter in the Nenter Vale, but is kind of past his physical prime. But he does enjoy adventuring, and he is traveled the wilds for quite some time looking for that one final quest to go out in a blaze of glory, if you will. He does have a determination to prove that he does still have it, and that might put him in a position where he tries some things that he's not quite up to anymore. His primary goal is to find that quest that is going to make a name for himself, where people will remember who Haldor was. So that's his main purpose for being. So he's going to look for what that might be. And then the complication for him is a little more mundane. It's just simply that as someone who's kind of past his prime, he feels like he is a lot more capable of things than he really is. So that could represent a problem for as he tries to do some things that are maybe a little outside his reach. So hang on just a second. I want to check my microphone here. I fear that my microphone is like a little too loud, so I'm trying to dial it down a little bit. I tend to talk a little loud, and then my microphone might be set a little too loud. So hopefully that is okay for everybody, and I'm not blowing your ears off there. So that is Haldor, our dwarf fighter. The next character we have is Keldric. Keldric is our dragonborn paladin. Keldric's backstory is he actually spent his early days on the other side of the moral code, if you will. He was a thief and would prey on those that were weaker than him, took advantage of people, and even killed some people. And him and his sister were partners in this deceitful practices. But at one point during this, during one of their raids trying to rob a noble, they found themselves being chased, and eventually the end result is his sister ended up getting killed. Not directly, but more indirectly through their, as they were trying to escape. So she wasn't killed by the guards or anything like that. But that really took a toll on him, and and as a result, he got caught and went to prison, and then that kind of changed his ways, and he has now taken the pendulum in completely the other direction, and to where he is now all about honor and justice and being a crusader for what is right in the world, and trying to deal with those who he feels has strayed from the noble path. And he sees that his companions as being the most righteous of people, even if they're not. But to him, they're his companions, and he will fight to the death for them. So he basically started on the opposite side, has now come to this side as a paladin, and just fights for justice. As a personality, he does not have a deity that he worships. He feels that even the gods are inferior to him, and so he is the ultimate. What's the word? The ultimate adjudicator of what is right and wrong. And while he doesn't blame the noble for his sister's death, because the noble didn't actually directly do anything, he does look down on nobility and sees those as people that have not earned their position, and he makes sure that they know about it. He does not have a filter when he speaks, so sometimes has to be kept in check by his fellow party members. His goals is really just ridding the world of evil, I guess, is the most basic that you can get for his goals. He is the epitome of a paladin, and just seek in using his self-imposed righteousness to impart justice on the world. As far as his complications, He does struggle to keep his feelings under control when he encounters nobles, which can be not so great. He will quickly get set off if he feels that a noble has done something that has wronged him in some way. So that fire within him for vengeance for his sister, he keeps it suppressed, but it could easily flare up if left unchecked. Yeah, I mean, starting with combat is pretty. It's like the two main ways that you start a D&D adventure is you either have people traveling on the road and you get attacked, and that just draws people right in. It's kind of my go-to one because you get the action right away. And as with most movies and things, you want to have something that really hooks people. And to me, the combat right away is what's going to do that. The other way is you start everybody just kind of sitting around in a tavern and seeing what's going on, and then there's some kind of inciting incident that happens, and so those are, to me, they're like the two most common ways that you start a D&D adventure. I like the combat as a starting point, and then where do you go from there? And you can. I mean, I'm okay if you keep doing some more combat and build on it. There's been other ones where you, like in Lost Mine of Phandelver, where you go on a little dungeon crawl, which is a nice little callback to what the essence of D&D is doing these dungeon crawls. So so that's fine too. Here, you go and you explore a town, which is pretty common in I want to say like Princess of the Apocalypse does the same thing. You have a combat encounter and then you end up in a town. So all these are pretty standard way of starting adventure, and I like that you get the hook and then you get into the actual adventure. Yeah, Tavern Brawl is a good one. I had that one on one of I think that's actually, I don't remember if it was the way it was written or if that was just the way that we played it. That in Dragon Heist, when I played Dragon Heist, we did a Tavern Brawl pretty early on to kind of introduce people to the players. I think that's actually how the adventure is written for that one. So, which is a nice way to just really get people into it. Next, we have Lyra, our halfling rogue. Lyra is from Fallcrest, which is the city at the center of the Winterhaven. So that would be like the largest town I mentioned before. That's the Waterdeep of the Winterhaven. She had a mentor that was teaching her in the arts of survival and sneaking around and doing all those types of things. And under her guidance, his guidance, I should say, she became quite adept at the skills of being a rogue. But she always felt like there was more for her, that she wasn't being that she was kind of constrained by this person's tutelage, and was maybe being used. So just a few days ago, she left. She snuck away in the middle of the night. She left Fallcrest and set out to the west, and eventually hooked up with this group that is part of this adventure. So, but she is a newcomer to the group and is just kind of working with them to try to break free and start on her own path. So she does value her companions and will be fiercely loyal to them as long as they are loyal to her. She does look out for justice, and as long as it's aligned with her own personal beliefs. And she knows that based on her upbringing, she had some rough times and there were people that looked out for her. So naturally, she looks out for those that she feels are being wronged or have been abandoned. She basically wants a better life for herself. She has spent her entire life struggling to survive and being taken advantage of. And so she wants to just be in control, and whatever it takes to do that, that's what she's going to do. Her complication is that Whisper, the mentor that she had, is not as nice as he might have appeared to her, and he knew full well that he was taking advantage of her, and is not too keen on the fact that she has left. So he has dispatched some people to try to find where she is and bring her back, and possibly under different circumstances. So that's something that could come into play somewhere in the adventure if we find a place for it. So that is Lyra, and then our final character is our half-elf cleric Therian. Therian is also from Fallcrest, and had a human mother and an elf father, and they had a temple that they ran. The mother ran this temple in Fallcrest, and he had a vision that told him when he was 27 that he should set out and make a pilgrimage to deepen his connection with the divine. So he did that, and he spent many, many years traveling and eventually settling in the Dawnforge Mountains, where he started his own little temple and was kind of just living there and separating himself from the rest of the world. He's now kind of getting up there in years, and has felt that his devotion to this has pulled him away from some of the things that were important. So he has decided to return to Fallcrest and to kind of reconnect with his family and possibly settle down and help with that temple again, only to find when he got to Fallcrest that his parents have since passed, the temple has fallen into disrepair, and the things that he cared for are now gone. So he is kind of a loner. He's quiet. He is brooding, and he just kind of keeps to himself. He does still have a concern for the well-being of others and wishes to protect life. And he would like to establish a temple in a small town. And as a result, that's why he's heading to Winterhaven, was one of the reasons he was heading that way. And so, and whatever happens along the way, he's just going to kind of roll with it. The big complication for him is that as a cleric, he has a connection to Pelor. But since he learned of his parents' passing in Fallcrest and that kind of falling apart on him, he has not had any connection with Pelor since. And he fears that he has lost his connection with his deity and hopes to reconnect with it. So we'll see what kind of how that plays into this too. So those are the backstories I came up with. And I don't know if what everybody thinks of those. I'd love to get your thoughts on those backstories. We'll see how much they come into play here. And they may come in a lot, they may not. We'll just figure it out as we go. And some of the things that I planned, maybe they don't play out the way that I intended, but we'll figure it out. And just kind of roll with it. That's kind of the nature of how we will play this game. So that is our characters. Let's take a look at the poll. So I'm looking at the poll and I see, 78% have voted for sleep as Alara's spell for the day. So that is what we will go with, is Alara has prepared the sleep spell for today. We'll see if that's a good choice or if it makes any difference to our characters, but that's what we will go with. So let me pause and just kind of, I was reading all the backstories and I kind of fell away from the chat for a little bit. So let me kind of see if I can get caught up on any of the conversation here. It looks like we've got quite a bit. So yeah, sleep is a good one for, I don't use sleep very much, but it does come in handy. It's one that's it's more powerful than you think it is, because if you can use it to subdue some of your attackers, it actually can be quite valuable. It doesn't like deal damage like an attack would, like Acid Arrow, but it has other values to it. So yeah, I forgot that. So Haldor is our fighter that is not did not have the greatest luck last week. So he did miss quite a bit. So that, I didn't intend to retcon that into his backstory by explaining his misses, but that does work out pretty well. So Judicator is that actually Paracombat? I actually did not realize that when I was putting this together. So that's I can try to take credit for that, but I won't. That just happened to work out. So cool. So when we get to that point, that'll be a little ways. We got a lot. These characters will not get up to that level during this adventure, but eventually. Yeah, the money is always such an easy, it's kind of a cop out, because, just being after treasure is, to me, treasure is a means to an end. You seek treasure, you go on quests to get treasure because you need that in order to survive, to reach some greater goal. So having money by itself doesn't really do anything. You have to want to do something with that money. I mean, even if that thing is to build a castle somewhere or something, you still, it's just a means to achieve some other goal. So so definitely I like the characters that have other things that they're after besides just kind of doing that. All right, let's get into this and we'll see how this is going to go. So before we actually flip over to the adventure, just remember, if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel. Like the video. That would be the thing that helps me the most, because that tells the YouTube algorithm that people like this video and maybe other people would like it too. So please do that. If you want to support the channel in other ways, check out the links down in the description. They are affiliate links, which means that if you click on them and you buy something from Amazon or DriveThruRPG or Humble Bundle or Noble Knight Games, I get a small piece of that, and it doesn't cost anything more for you, but I get a small cut of it to help the channel. So if you are going to make purchases from any of those places and you want to use those links to help me out, I would definitely appreciate it. But certainly the most important thing is to be here and participate and offer your thoughts, and hit that like button if you enjoy these videos. That to me is what really is providing the most value. So I appreciate that. Let's take a look at the adventure and get started with this. So this is the first section that we're going to go through here. There's actually a little bit before we get into the Winterhaven part. It's a little bit of D and Vice. So this adventure was released a month before the core rules were released, and so it had quick start rules set in it. So people that might have been playing this adventure wouldn't actually have a Dungeon Master's guide to work from. So this book has a couple pages in it where it provides some guidance for Dungeon Masters to run the game and gives you some ideas of how you might run the game. A couple of things that it talks about is how it specifically says that not everything in Dungeons and Dragons is about combat. So here we are, just a few pages in the adventure, and it's specifically saying that there's more to Dungeons and Dragons than just combat, and talks about how we're about to go into a role-playing section of the encounter. And it mentions how the moving things along thing is interesting. It talks about how the Dungeon Master needs to pay attention to the conversations that the players are having and try to anticipate what's going to happen, and try to keep things on track. So if the conversations get a little too far away from the game, you might need to reel people back in. And if they're talking about doing a certain thing, you need to kind of make mental notes so you can be prepared that that's the direction that they're going to go. The next part talks about leading questions. So you can say, so what do you want to do next? Do you want to go into Winterhaven? Do you want to fight the kobolds? Do you want to, so ask questions that almost have some options that the players could use to do something with. And then the last thing, the non-scripted options, just talks about if feeling free to do things that are not covered in this book. The adventure modules are meant to be a guide. They're not meant to be followed verbatim. So feel free to approach it more like a sandbox where this is the adventure core, but there's lots of other things that people could do as well. And if they want to go into a different direction, then certainly you could do that. So, and not be locked in to what we have here. Now, in this session, we will probably stay pretty close to the text of this because the intention here is to kind of go through this particular adventure. And in the format that we're using, it might be a little hard for us to do more of a sandbox. So, but generally, you want to be a little more flexible about it. So that's kind of our DM advice page here. And then we get into Winterhaven. So now here we are. It took us a half hour to get through the character backstories and all that stuff, but we are now ready to jump back into this adventure. So I'm excited to see how this goes. I'm a little nervous because I don't know what's going to work best. I really want to get feedback from everyone in the chat on what we want the characters to do. But with the delay in the chat, sometimes that might be difficult. So I will try to go slowly to give everybody a chance to chime in. But generally, as we go through the town, I'm going to kind of be looking to see what would the characters be doing at this particular location and seeing if there's any thoughts on what they might do. If there's not any input on that, then that's fine. I will just move the characters forward and I might kind of play the role of the character, asking some questions and all of that. So we'll just see how it all goes. So the next several pages they go through all the locations that are in Winterhaven. and I'm not going to go through them now. We'll go through them as we go through the town. So we will explore it ourselves and see how it goes. So our NPCs are, I have the, I'm actually going to flip over to the larger map screen so that everyone can see the map, larger here. So everyone is so we are at the gate in Winterhaven right here. We've traveled after our Kobold attack that we had on the road the other day. We've since rested overnight, and the party is back at full strength and with all of their hit points and everything. And we have now made it to the town of Winterhaven. And at the gate of Winterhaven is a couple guards standing there, just keeping their post. The gate is wide open during the day. We're getting probably around dinner time, so the gate is going to get closed later in the day. Now, remember, Laura is pretty well traveled, and so she is familiar with Winterhaven. She has been here. She's not aware of all the specifics that have happened in the area recently, but she does know the town, and she knows that the tavern is actually just inside the door. So this is the tavern right here. Sorry, it's not. There we go. So that is, and so she knows the tavern is right there and is going to, she doesn't need to stop and ask for directions of the guards or anything like that. So unless there's something else that anybody wanted to talk to the guards about, we could just continue on into the tavern and see what's going on there. Just checking out the chat, seeing what we're talking about here. So I will, yep, that's so good conversation there, but I will leave that be. So let's go over to the inn. So now, so we've passed through the gate, and the inn is really where everything is happening. So that's this location here, number 2 on the map, and I've got it circled there. This inn is a location that is a hub of activity for the town. You can see that it's a very small town. The inn is fairly large, and so in the evening, a lot of people in the town will come over here to relax and unwind. As the group enters this building, you see what you would expect to see in a tavern. There's a fireplace off on the side that has a fire going in it. There is music being played. There are people singing, not necessarily all the same song, but there's multiple people singing. There's gambling going on. There's certainly a lot of people drinking. There's people eating food. And then some people just kind of sitting and relaxing. So that's what we see as we walk into the room. There is at the bar, you see an older woman that is kind of just keeping an eye on the crowd, and several servers are walking around taking orders from the people that are sitting at the tables and in the different chairs and such. In the corner to the right of the door, you notice there's an elderly man sitting by a table, at a table all by himself. And he's just he's drinking an ale and just looking across the crowd, just kind of keeping an eye on everything that's going on. And then in the far corner of the room, you notice that there's a gentleman sitting at a table, and he is very well dressed. He's wearing what would be considered a proper suit for the time, surrounded by some other people who are standing beside him, including what looks to be some sort of town guard, dressed very similarly to the people that you passed on the gate on the way in. And the group then finds an empty table and has a seat and sits down, maybe places an order for a couple drinks or some food, and then just kind of thinks about what their next move might be. While they're sitting there, the door opens and there's kind of a pause in the crowd, almost a record scratch type moment where a guy walks in wearing this flowing robe. And he kind of just stares and then looks for a seat and then walks over and takes a seat at a nicely upholstered large chair off on the side. A server walks over to him to try to take an order, and he just kind of waves her away while he then lights his pipe and then just kind of sits there. And while that's just happening, people just kind of return to going about their business. So there's kind of this slight interest in what this gentleman was going to do, but then they return to their ways. And that's where they are. So we're now in the tavern, and there's lots of things going on. We've got food, we've got drinks, and what else could we possibly want in the world but those things, right? And so, the question to everybody is there anything specific we would like the party to do? I'm gonna stall for time and see if anybody has any thoughts about what we'd like the party to do. If not, then I will start having them do some things that I think that they would do. But I'm certainly open for any ideas that anybody has in the chat. Yeah, and just kind of talking to, I see the chat, there's a question about, what kinds of things do you let the players do with their abilities? Yeah, I pretty much let them do anything. I will always defer to the players on things. There's very rarely do I tell them they can't do something. Now, certainly if something uses up a slot, I'm gonna, like a spell slot, then that's gonna use up a spell slot. So the rules still apply, but certainly they're free to do anything. There is a dartboard on the opposite side from where the fireplace is. So maybe near the wall where the noble is sitting, or the regally dressed person who appears to be a noble. So there's a dartboard with a couple people playing darts over on that side. So Lyra sees the dartboard and kind of takes her drink and excuses herself. Heads over to the people that are playing the darts. She watches for a little while and manages to insert herself into that game. And maybe there's a couple bets that get laid down. She knows just enough about darts to hold her own, but isn't necessarily hustling them or anything like that. So she manages to do pretty well and at least break even in her short game that she has. So Keldrek is, the whole time that he's sitting at this table, his eyes are fixed on that guy across the room, the finely dressed gentleman that's sitting at the table. He mumbles under his breath a little bit at the and just, you can't even understand what he's saying, but he has not broken eye contact with this person at all. Alara returns and Keldrek kind of manages to get a few words out and asks her, who's that? She responds that is Lord Padraig. He's basically the mayor of the town, or the lord of the town. And she feels he's a good guy. He's not, he doesn't have any really ulterior motives. He's just interested in taking care of the town. Keldrek is not convinced of this. So he knows who the person is, but is not necessarily convinced that this person is as good as they claim to be, just simply because they do appear to be some sort of noble. And certainly with a name like Lord Padraig, that's something he's not going to be good. Yeah, it basically is. So I'm trying to let everybody have their say in what they want to do in this. I've got a few things that I'll do, to kind of move things along as necessary. But if there's specific things we think the party should do, I am all for it, and I'm willing to roll with it. So, at that point, Ilara is going to get up and she's going to head over to the bar. And she sees the woman at the bar that was kind of keeping tabs on everything. She knows this woman. This woman is Salvana Rafton. This is Rafton's Inn. So this is who owns the bar. Ilara knows her, but the woman doesn't necessarily know Ilara, because Ilara is familiar with the town, but she's not a regular. She doesn't live here. But she knows that this woman is the owner of the bar, and she kind of just strikes up a conversation. And keep in mind, as I'm going through this, I'm glossing through this much faster than we would if we were actually playing this game. So, just trying to, kind of get a feel for how this might go down. So It's yeah, exactly. I am going through this. This is very much on rails. This is the challenge of it's a demo. I want to give a feel for how we're playing the game. And how you might play this adventure. Obviously, with chat and doing it that way, that's not really a conducive to playing it out as we would in real life. But so that's the approach here, and so hopefully it works out okay. But Alara is talking to Salvana Rafton, and she Alara mentions to Salvara that they're actually here looking for Duvan Stall. If you recall from last week, we were talking about our hooks and why is everybody coming to this town. And one of the reasons we came is that because a friend of the party who they had met earlier, was wanting them to meet him here, because he had what he thought was a map to a dragon's tomb and was looking for assistance in trying to uncover possibly some relics from this dragon's tomb. So that is who they were here to meet in Winterhaven. So she asks Salvana if she has seen Dovin Stall. And Salvana kind of thinks for a second and is wondering to herself if that name, it sounds familiar. Eventually she tells Alara that she does remember that person, and actually had a room at the inn for quite some time, but then just disappeared one day, and she has not seen him since. And that was at least a week ago or so that he disappeared. So not familiar with what happened to him, but she did see him and she knew of him. So Alara just kind of makes a mental note of that so the person that they're looking for does not appear to be in town anymore, which is a concern. So let's see. Trying to read through the chat here. So there's this inside the adventure, and I'll flip back to the adventure so we can have a look at it. You actually get for a dungeon master, there's a whole series of questions that the players might ask, and it tells you what answers the different people would have, different NPCs would have for those questions if you were to ask those questions. So in that particular case, I had Alara go up and talk to who's the owner of the tavern, ask the question about the person they're trying to meet, and there's an answer that it provides. So if we were really playing this, I might role play it with a little more flair than I did, but that's kind of what you're provided with here as the dungeon master. So you get a whole list of what those questions might be, and the answers, and who would give those answers. So it really helps you as you're trying to play this out to figure those things out. So then Alara, she, having heard that Duvan Stall was here and is no longer here, the next obvious question is, well, do you know where he might have gone? Do you have any idea where he might have gone? And so Salvana doesn't know, but recommends that she go talk to Elian the Old, and she points over to the old guy in the corner, and says, he kind of keeps tabs on everything, and he's probably the best person to talk to, because basically that's what he does. He keeps eye on everybody that comes in town and wants to know their business, so he would be the one to talk to. So Alara takes that information, heads back to the table, and sits down with her companions, and leans over to Therian and says, look, I hear that guy may know what's up with Dovin, or knows where he is, because he's not in town anymore. And being that he looks like an older gentleman, and Therian, you're an older gentleman, that maybe you would have the better person to go speak with him. So Therian kind of nods. Therian's a pretty quiet guy. It doesn't say a whole lot. So he just kind of nods his head, heads over to Elian, who is sitting at the table, just kind of surveying the room. When Therian walks over, Elian looks up at him and basically just pushes out the chair with his foot. So the chair opposite him on the table, he kicks it out with his foot to offer a seat to Therian. Therian sits down. Elian is definitely one who enjoys talking, likes mostly as a means for him to gather additional information from other people and learn what's going on. But he's certainly willing to share information as well, because that makes him feel like he's in the know on stuff. So he pushes out the chair. Therian sits down, and Therian simply asks, that he hears that you might know something about our person that we seek, Duvan Stahl, that you may have heard something about him. Elian seems his eyes perk up and is like, it's like, oh, you know Duvan as well. Okay. I wondered what happened to him, because he had been asking me all kinds of questions about some burial site on the southwest of the village, and he thought a dragon might be buried there. I think it's just a big old trash heap, but he thought that there was going to be something of value there. So I gave him some directions on, to help him find this place. And, because I am a little bit of a historian, so I wanted to help him out. And so he took that information, and he left, and I have not seen him since. But I do hope that he's okay. But, that was the last I had heard of him when he came and asked for those directions. So, and at that point he, takes a piece of paper from his pocket and a pencil, and he scratches out and scratches out a very crude map, similar to what he had drawn out for Duvan Stahl, to where this burial mound is, and said this is where I'd taken him, or I pointed him with the map. I gave him a very similar one. So if you're looking for him, that probably would be the place to start, is to check out that burial location, because it's that's where I sent him. So Therian kind of sits for a little while longer, not wanting to look like he's that he was just using this gentleman for this one piece of information. So he sits there for a little while longer and makes a little bit of small talk on other things as well. But takes the map in his hand, feeling that that's definitely the information that he needed. And with that, Ilara, while that's going on, Ilara actually stands up and decides she wants to go speak with Lord Padraig. She feels that he may have some information. They were attacked by these kobolds on the way into town, and she feels that he might have some information about what that was all about, because that wasn't very usual for that to happen. While she stands up, Keldrek stands up as well. And she kind of gives him the little side eye, but he just still has his eyes fixated on Lord Padraig. And she walks over to the noble. Keldrek follows close behind, and about 2 steps behind Ilara. Just as they are approaching, the guard that was standing next to Lord Padraig walks around the table and gets between Ilara and the table to keep her from advancing further, puts up his hand and asks what she wants. She indicates that they are travelers and from Fallcrest, and that she wanted to just have a few words and ask some questions about some of the events they experienced on their way into Winterhaven. The guard keeps his hand up there, and he kind of turns to the Lord Padraig and whispers in his ear, and Lord Padraig waves his hand and to permit them forward. So Ilara comes forward, and Keldrek then takes his position right behind her as well. And she asks, she just mentions to him that, we were attacked by some kobolds on the way into Winterhaven, and we're just curious if you know anything. Is there something going on that might be a problem here? And he is not surprised that they were attacked by kobolds, and indicates that this has been a problem for some time. They've had kobolds have been attacking caravans and attacking some of the outer villages or outer farms, and it's something that has been a serious problem. Unfortunately, the town guard is small, and they don't really have the means to put together a party that would be necessary to go and hunt down these kobolds and do something with it. So So, but if they were willing, if Alara was willing to go and do that, then if she has some companions that might be able to help them root out these kobolds and deal with this situation, he would be willing to pay them for that service, and offers actually, in addition to the payment that he would give, if they were to find any sort of treasure, he would turn a blind eye to the fact that that treasure actually belongs to the people of Winterhaven, and they could keep whatever they wanted to keep. And that he would be perfectly fine with that, because his main concern is getting rid of these kobolds that have been just causing problems for the area. So that's an offer that he makes to her, and she says understands. He also gives her a little map to a location that he believes to be where the kobolds have been operating out of, and so he has that sketched out and hands that to her. And says, if you want to try it out, go there. If you manage to deal with it, come back here, and I will reward you for your efforts. So she turns to leave, and as she turns to leave, Keldrick steps forward and starts to say something, but Alara pushes him back and turns him around and sends him back to the table, and then they both walk back to their table. So Keldrick mumbles under his breath the whole way, but obeys the wizard, and they make it back to the table without any further incident. So there we are. We've got 2 quests, kind of following along with the book, and I'll bring back the book here just so we can have a peek at it. So I'm, if you're following along at home, I'm kind of playing out some of the questions and answers that they have here. So there's some different questions here about we were attacked by kobolds. And then this is a more direct, if you're looking for do you have any jobs for a party that, for adventurers, and that's Lord Paldraig. So kind of taking a few of these questions, combining them into some ideas for the players. So kind of the type of thing that, depending on what the players would want, that's there's some directions that you could provide for them. So all right, so we have essentially picked up 2 quests while in this tavern. We've talked to a couple people. We got, good question. The pay for that was going to be 100 gold. He's offering 100 gold for them to, if they deal with the cobalt problem. So good question. Thank you, Sean. But we picked up 2 quests. One is to really directly tied to our plans, which was to come and meet up with Duvan Stahl. And so what we've heard is that he's found some burial mound, what he believes is a dragon burial mound. We now have a map to that burial mound. So we're in position where we could try to go see if we can track him and see what happened to him. The other quest is to go deal with these kobolds. And if we do that, whatever treasure we find while dealing with those kobolds is ours for the taking. And on top of that, we'll collect 100 gold in the process. So 2 quests to be had. And I think there is a lot more exploring of this town that we could do. I could spend this entire session in this town, and we could go from place to place, and there's more to be had. And perhaps we might do that next time. Because Winterhaven is kind of a home base here, so there's nothing that says that we have to do everything in Winterhaven all at once. We can do something and then come back here afterwards. So, but I would like to also go out and start working on some of these quests, and let's see how that goes. So, which one has it doesn't quite work that way, does it? See, despite what you've heard. 4th edition is not as video gamey as one might think. In fact, so far, if you ask me, it sounds a lot like every other version of D&D that I've played, with the way that it gets played out. So, so 100 gold pieces. So we got to vote for doing the quest. I guess this is a good, I could put a poll out there, but we got 2 quests. The question is, which one are we going to go for first? Do we want to head for the burial mound, or do we want to try to find the kobolds and deal with the kobolds? That's really the 2 questions that we've got. So rather than I won't put a poll question out there. I'm just going to ask it in the chat. So if anybody has a thought of which direction we would like to go first, then that's the one we'll go with. So we got search for kobolds, and we've got burial mound. That's our 2 options. So if you have an opinion on those, let me know in the chat which one you would like to go for, and that's what we will do. And I'm going to just kind of get set up here, and we'll see which way we want to go with this. Or the characters could vote, sure. If I feel like that would be the equivalent of the chat voting. So Kobold, we got to vote for the Kobold layer. That's our first vote. I could set up an actual poll if we think that would be better, but I feel like we could just do this in the chat would work as well. So Kobolds, we got 2 votes for Kobolds. I'm gonna do a thing over here, and then once I'm done with that, I'll see if there's any additional votes, and if not, we will go for the Kobolds. So and like I said, there's a lot of other information available to the party if they were to stay in this location. These are all the locations in this town. So, we've got stables, we've got a market, we've got a temple. There's NPCs in several of these locations. And certainly there's ideas for just little side things that you could do. As a dungeon master, I would probably come up with additional side quests that they could do if they encounter people at these different locations. And then like you mentioned, there's a lot of the Q&A that's available for some of the NPCs. So definitely lots that we could do in this town, and we will be back to talk more about it. So that's just interesting. All right. Well, I see 3 votes for the Kobolds. I agree with Sean. Duvin is not getting any more lost. You're either lost or you're not lost. So there's no point rushing to find him when we've got 100 gold pieces and possibly some cool treasure to find. So that seems to be the way to go. So with that, it is getting into the evening. So, when everybody has just kind of had their meals, we'll continue into the party will basically get a room or multiple rooms or however they want to do it. And we'll pick this up first thing in the morning so that the party is well rested and, so we can set out with the fresh day ahead of us looking for these kobolds and see what we're dealing with there. So we stay at the inn, the party gets a room or however many rooms they want, and manages to get a full night's rest and set out the next day. We will go with that. I'm going to leave that Alara still has her sleep spell, since that was overwhelming with what everybody wanted. If somebody wants to change that, if there's an overwhelming desire to change that to Acid Arrow instead of Sleep, I will consider that, since we are now leaving the town and we're going to be heading out into the wilderness. I'd be fine switching it if everybody would prefer for that. So otherwise, I will leave it at Sleep. So it is the next day, and the party is going to head out towards the direction that Lord Padraig have given them, towards where he thinks that these kobolds are resting. And this is actually down the King's Road, the same route that we just took to come into town. And so as we know from last time, we're doing this kind of as a demo. So there are, I'm going to flip over to the other map here, and you will see the monsters on this map. But I wouldn't put the monsters on the map if we were actually playing this. So we would set up everybody on the map, but the monsters would not be there. And so this is just strictly for our purposes here. And this map might look very familiar because it's basically the same one we used last week. So, but we do have different monsters that we're working with, and we're actually coming from a different direction. We are moving from the left side to the right side in this case, following this map. So, I don't know that any of these characters are the jovial sort. They all seem to have some pretty dark histories. So probably Alara might be the one who's she's used to traveling. So if that's the case, Alara would probably be our best candidate for walking songs to be leading the charge, but she's probably not going to get a lot of support from the rest of the party in that regard. So then we get into, as we're heading out of town, we're walking down the King's Road, following the map towards where the map that Lord Potter gave us, to where this Kobold lair might be. And there's really nothing obvious. Now, I've put the monsters on this map so we can see them, but normally they would be hidden because they're hiding in the shadows, so we don't necessarily see them. So at this point, we actually need to do some perception checks to determine whether or not if anyone is going to see any of these kobolds. So I'm going to go ahead and do perception checks for each of the characters. So and for that, in the character sheet, there is a skill perception skill, I should say, and everyone has a different bonus for that. So I'm going to go ahead and do some rolls, and we will determine if any of the people in the party actually see any of these monsters that are out there. So let's go ahead and do some of that. So first we got Alara. Alara is most definitely not going to see anyone with just a 5. She has a +1 to her perception, but that's not going to be enough to see anything. Haldor has a +2 to perception, but a 4 is not going to do it for him either. And then we get to Keldrek, our old senior member. Oh, sorry, Haldor was the senior member. So Keldrek is the righteous member. He only has a +1. That gives him an 11. Not going to be enough for him. Lyra might be our best chance. She's got a +5, and that's going to give her a 15. And then finally, Therian, he has a +3. He's got a 17. So he was the one that had the highest perception roll. The DC for this particular perception roll was going to be a DC 25. So it was pretty impossible for anybody. They would have had to have rolled pretty well. I think the only one who had a chance was Lyra, because she had a +5, and so she would have had to roll a natural 20 in order to actually proceed with this. So I probably think it's probably a little high. It's a little unfair to give this one a DC that's so high that nobody really had a chance to see it. They're trying to establish that there was a chance that we could have seen the kobolds, but they basically made it impossible. So it's not a perfect adventure. I won't claim that. But so there we are. So the party has tried their perception. We've checked their perception. There is no passive perception. Oh, actually, I take that back. There's a perception plus. There is a basic perception in here. So I take that back. But that is just a 10 plus their perception score, so that wouldn't have done anything for them. And at that, so if the kobolds surprise any of the PCs, then it indicates that there's some box text. War cries break from the underbrush as several small figures dart from hiding places. They are similar to the creatures you fought earlier, but 3 of them carry long swords and shields. So these are definitely slightly different monsters than we had before. We get our features of the area and then the monster stat blocks. So, but because they are surprising the characters, they are going to get a surprise round. So, so we are going to roll initiative and jump right into this particular encounter. So, yeah, I just saw your comment. Yes. If this was a beginner game, this would take far longer because everyone would be learning the rules and we'd be, paging through the book trying to figure out how to actually even do a perception check. So, which is a shame because then we would spend all that time learning how to do a perception check for a perception check that's basically impossible to pass. So, except for one of these characters, but such is the way that they have this written. But all right, let's go ahead and do our initiative rolls. And I'm going to switch over to a different screen here, and I'm going to bring up these little character cards that I put together because they have initiative on them, and that will make it easier for me to do these initiative rolls. So we're going to start with Alara. She has a +6 to her initiative, and she gets a 16, so she is going to get a 22 for her. And then next up is Haldor, who has a +1. Oh, and he's going to get a 21. So, and then Keldrek has a +0, so he will just get a straight 15. Lyra has a +4, and so she will get an 18. And then finally Therian has a 0, and so he will get a 14. So we didn't actually get any ties there. Interestingly enough, Haldor, our rather elderly dwarf, is actually he has the second highest score here. So let me go ahead and roll for the monsters. We'll go ahead and put so the first monsters we have are the skirmishers. So put up their box. They have a initiative of +4, and so that is what is that, a 9 +4, so that's going to be a 13. And then next we have, sorry, that was the Worm Priest, not the skirmishers. Now the skirmishers are +5 to their initiative, and they got a 6. 2 +5 is going to be an 11. And then finally we get our dragon shields, and our dragon shields have a +4. And that's going to give them a 8. So we actually did not get any ties, and as it turns out, the entire party is going to go before any of the monsters. Sorry, they're going to get a surprise round, so I take that back. So let me go ahead and set up the initiative order here, and we will get this thing going. Oh, I got to add. Oh, there we go. Keldrek, we got Skirmisher. I'm not actually moving this, I'm just trying to get it to add to the turn order. Technical issues here. There we go. All right. And I think none of them have been added, so I got to add all of these folks again. All right. Keldrek, 15. Haldor, 21. Therian, 14. Lyra, 18. Ilara, 22. These kobolds are not on here. There are none of those. Dragon shields are 8. Worm Priest is 13, and our skirmishers are 11. So there we have our order, and for some reason it didn't take any of those. Love technical difficulties. Excuse me as I mumble under my breath while I try to deal with issues. And Keldrek is 15. So let's try that again. There we go. All right. Now we've got it. And because they get a surprise round, the kobolds all get to go first. So, all right. So while I was doing all that, what did I miss? Apologies for that. Trying to get all that set up. Yeah, that's Trinell. That's one of my favorite things in 4th edition is those monster stat blocks. They're all right there in the in the encounter page. So I don't have to flip to a monster manual. I don't have to do anything. They're just right there for me to see. And then everything those powers can do is also right there in the stat block. So yeah, no cross-referencing needed. So there we go. All right, because we have a surprise round, the Worm Priest is actually going to go first. So let's go ahead and see what this Worm Priest can do. Why is my... Oh, there we go. So we got my Worm Priest here. So the Worm Priest has several options. It's got a spear. It's got an energy orb with acid in it. Has Insight Faith as a minor action. It has Dragon Breath. And then it is shifty, so it can shift minor action at willpower. I think, what do we have for tactics here? This is another great thing with 4th edition is we get tactics for our monsters. So tactics indicate whether or not the ambush succeeds. The Dragon Shields attempt to overwhelm the nearest PC with a charge. They want to engage, concentrate their attacks, and muddle the PC's response. The Skirmisher stays on the edge of conflict and focuses on any wizard or similarly frail-looking PC. And then the Worm Priest is content to spend the first round or two sending energy orbs at isolated PCs. The Worm Priest tries to keep the Dragon Shields between itself and the PCs while staying within 10 squares of its allies, so it can use its Incite Faith power. So that is the tactics that we have for our monsters, and so we will try to adhere to those as best we can. The first up is our Worm Priest, and so basically it's saying that they are going to use their energy orbs and then try to stay within distance of their allies and keep those Dragon Shields in between them. So the energy orb is a standard power. At will, it deals acid damage, has a range of 10, so we got to make sure within 10 squares, and then it's going to be a +6 versus reflex. So let's check and see what we've got as far as distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The only one that's really out of range is Elara. This Worm Priest, I'm going to have it move down just one notch to take up a position here, and it's just going to go after the first character in the party, which is Keldrek. So it's going to roll its energy orb. So the Worm Priest is going to roll its an attack for its energy orb, which is a +6 versus reflex. So let's go ahead and roll that. Haha. Oh, isn't that wonderful? So natural 1, that is not going to do anything. Did my Dragon Shields have the wrong thing? So let's we'll look at that when we get down to the Dragon Shields. So that is basically it for the Worm Priest. The next one is actually going to be the Skirmishers. So let's take a look at our Skirmishers. And our Skirmisher has a spear, and they deal 1d6 on... Okay, so that's just combat advantage. Mob attack, it gets a +1 bonus if there's an ally adjacent to a target, which is not going to be the case here. So basically it's going to throw its spear, and it looks like it wants to throw it at a wizard or a similarly frail looking PC. The range of the spear is... I don't see the range of the spear on here. Oh, it's a sorry, that's just going to be a melee weapon. That's not a ranged weapon. So it's not a throw to be thrown. So this skirmisher, and that makes sense, it is a skirmisher. So this skirmisher is going to have to move and to try to get in range of someone. So that's a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It can get to Keldrek. So our Kobold skirmisher is going to move over to Keldrek and use its spear. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it is going to use its spear It's got a +6 versus armor class. 18 +6 is 24 versus Keldrek's armor class of 20. So that is definitely going to be a hit. And that is going to deal 1d8 damage on Keldrek. With only one. So Keldrek is only going to take 1 point of damage with that. I don't think he could have made out any better than that. So we'll just update his. And there we go. And that brings up the Dragon Shield. So do I have the wrong Dragon Shield stats here? So short sword. I saw someone say that I have the wrong stat. Oh, does the... Oh, that's interesting. So there's just a mix-up, I guess, on the weapons. We'll go with the stat block. Stat block says they have short swords, and that's what we're going to use for the short swords. Oh, so do we think that the combat advantage on the skirmisher... Well, just... See, I don't understand why it listed combat advantage. I'm going to take a step back here, and we'll look at the skirmisher again. I don't understand why it thought that why it said that the skirmisher had... Why it lists combat advantage as a thing for the skirmisher. Because it says it deals 1d6 damage on melee and ranged attacks against any target that it has combat advantage against. So it doesn't sound like it has combat advantage like in any different circumstance than you would otherwise. And that seems like I guess combat advantage is just going to give you a +2. This one just deals extra damage. So it's an interesting, it's just a little different. I guess, yeah. So normally combat advantage is going to give you a +2 to your attack. This combat advantage gives the +6, an additional +1d6 damage. So it's just a different combat advantage. You'd think they'd give it a different name. They seem to name everything differently in 4th edition. So you'd think they would have called this, Kobold advantage or something to kind of indicate that it was actually different. So just a interesting take on it. All right, so we have our dragon shields here. We got 3 of them to work with. I feel like this one up here is going to want to stay and protect the Worm Priest. So that one I don't think is going to do much. These other 2, though, they're definitely going to... It says they're going to try to overwhelm the nearest target. And then it's gonna which would be Haldor. So I think those 2 are gonna try to gang up on Haldor. So oh, so did I miss that? Okay, so they grant surprised grants combat advantage. Did I actually miss that in what surprised is? So that means that since that skirmisher did hit, then that skirmisher should get an extra 1d6 damage because they get if that's what surprised does. So hang on a second. Let me take a look. I'm not one that usually spends a lot of time checking rules, but sometimes when there's something interesting, I do want to make sure that we do get it right. So let's do that. So And that certainly would make sense. So, yeah. So if you're surprised, you can't take any actions, and you grant combat advantage to all attackers. As soon as it ends, you're no longer surprised. So I appreciate that. Yep, missed that one. Fortunately, it's only comes into play here because we missed with our first attack, but this one did attack, and so I will go ahead and roll the 1d6 because he did get combat advantage. So, and we'll factor that in as well. So for another 1 point of damage. So not exactly, didn't really change too much there, but so we'll do that. Okay. So, but I appreciate that. Thank you for calling that out. That was a miss, but now we dealt our 1d8 damage for the regular weapon damage, and then we did a 1d6 damage for the combat advantage that comes with this being a surprise round. So I appreciate that, the call out there. And now we can move to our dragon shields. And they have their short swords, so they're going to gang up on Haldor. So let's go ahead and get them moved over to Haldor. Let's see. Their speed is a 6. Do they have enough speed to get there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They do not actually have enough speed to get there, but we're going to move them as close as we can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's all they can do. They do not have a ranged attack that they could use. They could shift. Oh, they could shift 1 square. So they have a shift as a minor action. So they've used their move action, and now they could use a minor action. Oh, a charge. Yes, that would be a good one. And that is what they're supposed to do. They are supposed to charge. So thank you for that one. So they are now both in position where they could do a charge on Haldor, because a charge gets them two squares of movement. I believe it's 2. So certainly, the one dragon shield, he's got plenty. He can move there. I believe a charge is going to get us 287. Charge. Oh, so you get to move. You can move your full speed. Yep. So, all right. So we're going with that. Good. That's what their tactics say they should do, and that is exactly what they're in a position to do. So, so we'll start with this one right here. He is going to charge at Haldor, and with his do a melee attack with his short sword. What's the? Is it a +1? You know, I was just at the page. You'd think I would have looked at it, but it's like looking at your watch and then not knowing what time it is. +1 bonus to the attack roll. So they're going to get a +1. So their regular attack is +7. They're going to get a +1 on top of that for the charge. So this will be a +8. So let's go ahead and try this out. So for this one, oh, we don't actually need that. So, well, actually, we kind of do, actually, with the way critical hits work. But that is still going to hit the armor class for Haldor is a 17. So it will definitely hit. And because it's a nat 20, that is going to deal max damage. The damage is a 1d6 +3. So 1d6, there'll be 6 points of damage. +3 is a 9. So Haldor is going to take 9 points of damage and is marked until the end of this kobold's next turn. So let's go ahead and do that. Haldor takes 9 points of damage, which gives him 22, and he is going to be marked. And there we go. So that updates Haldor. And then the other dragon shield and so this dragon shield is going to be at that square. So also charging at Haldor. And we're basically going to repeat the same basic attack with the short sword. I'll pull it up here again. So this dragon shield is going to use its short sword +7 with the bonus of +1 for doing the charge against Haldor. And let's see how this one does. 9 + 8 is going to be a 17. Haldor's armor class, I believe, is 17. It is. So that is going to be a hit on Haldor. And let's go ahead and roll that damage. This is going to be a 1d6 plus 3 damage. 4 plus 3, that is going to be 7 points of damage on Haldor, which drops Haldor down to 15, which means that Haldor is actually bloodied now. So that is the condition of Haldor. And that is the end of our surprise round. So we are at the top of the order. I think we recovered there, kind of messed up a little bit with the combat advantage. We got clarification on our charge rules, but I think we finished. We actually got through this properly. So we are at Alara, our wizard here in the back. She is the first one to go. And so let's see what she's got up her sleeve. I'll switch over to that sheet so we can take a look at it together. So she has Magic Missile, Ray of Frost, Scorching Burst, Burning Hands. I didn't hear anybody change that we wanted to switch from Acid Arrow to Sleep, so she has Sleep as her daily power. Also has Ghost Sound and Light. So that's pretty much where we're at with Alara. So what do we think is our best bet? She's pretty far away. I feel like she might be wanting to go after that Worm Priest, way off of the distance, the one that fired the orb. She might see that and say, you know what, that's the one I should be going after. So does she have anything? She has a Ray of Frost has a range of 10. Magic Missile's got a range of 20, so no issues trying to hit that. So let's see. Scorching Burst, get 2 of the kobolds. Area burst within 10 squares. Yep. 1d6 damage versus their reflex. All right, go with it. It's an at-will power. Standard action. So I'm good with that. So we'll go that route. So Alara she'll stay right where she is because it has a within 10 squares and she is within 10 squares. So she is going to put that burst right here. And it is it's a burst 1 though, which I think is just going to be, I think a burst 1 is just going to be the 1 square. I don't think that's actually going to, I'm not sure that the burst is going to go any further than that. Oh, I see. Nope, sorry. I had it backwards. I was confusing with a blast. That's my bad. Yes, a burst is fine. Sorry about that. I was confusing with a blast. So she will go here, and it will be a 3x3, which will capture. So she would actually need to do here, and she would get these 2. So get both of these dragon shields with that. So I think that's where she'll go. Essentially, she's going to try to get these 2 dragon shields. So with that. So she's going to do Scorching Burst. It's +4 versus reflex against these kobolds. So let's go ahead and roll the attack first. See how she does. Okay, well, there we go. Okay. All right, 17 plus 4 is going to be 21 versus the 2 dragon shields, which have an armor class of 18. So we do need to do a second one, though, because it's an area. It is an area burst, so I got to do a second roll. So that was for dragon shield number 2. Let's go ahead and do the second roll. that one is going to miss. So she does hit Dragon Shield number 2, but is going to miss the other one. And then the damage that she's going to roll is going to be a 1d6 plus 4 fire damage. Oh, I think it's still going to miss though, because the second roll was just a 2. Reflex is 13, so I mean definitely hit the first one no matter what. With the plus 4, it was still only a 6 on the second one, so reflex is 13. So it's going to miss on that one as well. It's still going to miss even with reflex. But thank you for catching that. And that's going to be 3 plus 4 fire damage. So our kobolds are... So that dragon shield is going to take a bit of damage then. With 3 plus 4 is going to be 7 points of damage. And there we go. We are off and running. So Elara has dealt some damage on the first of the dragon shields. I don't believe she's going to want to move anywhere, so we'll keep her right where she is. Next up is Haldor. Haldor is currently engaged with a couple of these dragon shields. So let's have a look and see what he's going to want to do. I feel that the most obvious thing for Haldor to do would be cleave. He has 2 of these dragon shields adjacent to him, and that seems to make the most sense to me. So might as well try to do that and then get he can do some damage to both of them. So he will cleave at number 3 and then try to extend that into number 2. So with this, he's going to do plus 6 versus armor class. Oh, you're right. He is marked. Yep. Thank you. He is indeed marked. So he has to go after the number 3 first, which is what he was going to do. He was going to go after number 3. So if he cleaves, at number 3, so he's attacking number 3, but he's not really attacking number 2. His weapon is just kind of hitting number 2, right? I wouldn't necessarily count that as him not, because he doesn't have to roll an attack against number 2. He would just be attacking number 3. So, which is the one that's marking him. He could do spinning sweep, but I feel like that is an encounter power, so we might want to hold off on doing the encounter powers just yet to see how this goes. We can dive in full bore if we want, but I say we get yeah, so as long as the marked target is the one he's attacking, then I think we're good. So let's go with cleave, and then we'll see what we can do. Let's see what we can do with that. So he is going to do, Haldor is going to do cleave on number 3, and then with hopefully do some damage to number 2 as well in the process. And so this is going to be a plus 6 versus the armor class. Oh, sweet. So the armor class of the dragon shield is an 18. So that's definitely going to hit because that's a 26 that he just rolled with a natural 20. So that's going to deal max damage with 2d6 plus 3. So that is going to be a 12 plus 3. That's 15 damage on dragon shield number 3. And so... So he is taking quite a bit of damage. And then the cleave, an enemy adjacent to him also takes 3 damage. So that means number 2 is also going to take 3 points of damage. So that could not have gone any better for Haldor, who says that he's too old to fight in these battles. He's showing that he's still got it in him. And the tales of his being washed up are greatly exaggerated. Obviously, he's going to stay put, and so we will move on to Lyra. And Lyra is back here. She is our rogue. Let's have a look at what she's got up her sleeve. Hang on. Where are we? We're over here. So, Lyra has oh, so all right, let's back up. Let's back up. He has combat challenge. Every time you attack an enemy, whether this attack hits or misses, you can choose to mark that target, and then it marks until the end of the next turn. All right, let's not forget that. So, marked by Haldor. I think that that Dragon Shield was going to attack him anyway, so I don't think that was not going to change much. I don't think I missed anything else. Can use second wind as a minor action. We could go that route if we want. I think we'll hold off on the second wind. I was just looking to see if it did anything. I knew it did the healing, get a +2 to defenses, but I think we'll take our chances as that. So we'll hold off on that for now. Let's move on to Lyra and see what she's gonna do. So there is no combat advantage anywhere here. I don't think she's got the speed to get in a position. Let's see, because she would have to move around. Yeah, she's not in a position where she could move around without giving up an opportunity attack. I don't think she's got enough speed to get around there, because once she gets here, she's going to start giving up opportunity attacks. Once she gets to this square, she would give up opportunity attacks. And this is difficult terrain. If she was to try to climb over there, it actually requires you to roll some ability checks too. So based on the positions of where everybody is here, she could get to this position, but she's not going to be able to like move over here where she would be flanking that one. So I don't think she's got much available to her. Unless there's a shift that she could do. She gets a +3 bonus against opportunity attacks. And then another +2 for nimble reaction. So she actually gets a plus. She has a artful dodger and nimble reaction, which gives her a +5 to her armor class against opportunity attacks. So if we want to move her from, well, let's see, what is her move? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, she could get there. So if we wanted to move her here, she could move there. She would give up an opportunity attack, but she has a +5 to her armor class for that. Her armor class is a 16, so that would give her a 21 armor class. And then she would be able to, I think she'd stand up for it. So let's go for it. Let's do it. I think it's worth doing it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then she'll give up the opportunity attack there. So that is the skirmisher. So let me flip over here and we'll do his basic attack. So I need to flip over and just have a peek at the, well, let me go to the other screen here, since that's where we're at. And then I'll pull up the skirmisher. So basic attack, he has a spear, which is +6 versus armor class. So let's see what we get. 1d20, plus 6 is going to be a 15. So she had a 21 with her bonuses. So that is not going to work for the opportunity attack. So exactly as you would have hoped that would go. And then 5 and 6 puts her in position. So she now is in position. She has combat advantage. So with combat advantage now, so the opportunity attack is only, you can only do one opportunity attack per round, I believe. So once she gave up the first opportunity attack, she could move freely then to the other squares because she can only give up one. Now she's in position and she is flanking with Keldrek on this one. So she has combat advantage against this skirmisher. And I think so. What power do we want to use? Sly Flourish plus 8 does more damage. So I think Sly Flourish looks like the way to go. So I think that's what we'll do. So did I just move the wrong token? Sorry. I moved the wrong person. That's my bad. Sorry, I did all that, but I moved the wrong token. It's Lyra. It's over there, not Alara. So sorry about that. Lyra is flanking with Keldrek. Sly Flourish, we will do that against this one. So she has combat advantage, which is going to give her a +2. And then she could hopefully get some, if she hits, we'll get some sneak attack damage. So let's see how we make out with that. 12 plus 2 plus 8, that is going to be plus 10. That's a 22 armor class versus this skirmisher's armor class of 15. And by my math, that is indeed a hit. And so she's going to get to deal her sneak attack damage, which is 2d8 on top of the regular damage for Sly Flourish, which is a 1d4. So we will go ahead and roll all of those. 1d4 plus 2d8s. And that is, that could be better, but it's a 7 plus another 7 damage. So that's actually 14 points of damage for the skirmisher. And so let's see how he is doing. Okay, I don't know why it just did that. So 14 points of damage. It's nice. So that that skirmisher is actually bloodied now. So he's that's pretty good. That's a pretty good attack for Lyra there. And she's also flanking with Keldrek, who happens to be the next person to go. So now Keldrek has combat advantage. And so let's see what he brings to this. Now he is the ultimate righteous fighter here. And so let's see what he's got up his sleeve. So he does have his divine challenge where he can mark this target. That's a minor action. This one, this one is already marked by Haldor. So I think we probably would just leave that as Haldor if we're. Oh no, sorry, this one is not marked. We're on this is a skirmisher, so he can mark. He's going to mark this one by Keldrek. So the skirmisher is now marked by Keldrek using the divine challenge. And then we're going to decide what he wants to do here. I'm thinking if we do Holy Strike and the target is marked, which it is, then he gets a +1 bonus to the damage roll. And then but Valiant Strike, he gets a +1 to the attack for every for everyone that is adjacent. So Lyra is adjacent also, so he would get a +8 to the attack and then would do damage. So I think we'll do Valiant Strike for him. So let's go ahead and do that. I think, we could do the action point for Lyra, but I think I want to keep moving forward here. So let's just do it that way. So we'll flip over here and we're going to do a Valiant Strike against the Skirmisher. So let's go ahead and roll that, and he's going to have quite a few bonuses on this. So an 18, he gets a +7, which makes it a 25, with a +1 because Lyra is also adjacent to this enemy, and then a +2 on top of that because he has combat advantage. So that is going to be +10. 18 + 10 is a 28. Most definitely is going to hit this Skirmisher. And then the damage that he's going to do for Valiant Strike is 1d8 + 4. 7 + 4 is going to be 11 points of damage. And that is looking pretty good as far as how this Skirmisher is, as far as the party is concerned. The Skirmisher is not doing too well right now. I don't know why it keeps rolling my dice twice here. And so let's take that down. Our next participant in this is going to be Therian, the cleric. We have a little bit of damage. Haldor has definitely taken a lot. So I think Therian is going to want to do a little bit of healing on Haldor here. So let's see what he has to offer. What does he have with Healing Word? Allows someone to spend a healing surge. So he doesn't have... Healing Strike would be the one where he could do a damage and do some healing. The 2 at-will powers grant some temporary hit points, but I don't feel that they do enough. I feel like based on Therian's character, where Therian is more the pure healer in the group, I think he'd be content with just using Healing Word, which is just a minor action, actually, so he could do both. We could do Healing Word as a minor action. It is just for the encounter. He can do it twice per encounter, but only once per round. So he could do healing, and it is a close burst 5. So... the other person that took damage is, who else did we have that took damage? So Haldor and Keldrak are both the 2 that took damage. And so if we did Healing Word, then, and since it's a close burst 5, he could get both of them, and they could both spend a healing surge and recover some hit points. And then it's a minor action, so he would still be able to then do an attack, if he wants to get into the fray. So let's do the Healing Word first, and then we will deal with if we want to. Let's give some thought. Do we want to try to use one of his at-will powers to deal some damage? The only issue with that is that he would actually have to get up close and personal with like the dragon shields, and I'm not sure that he wants to. Or he can move up and get up close and personal with the Skirmisher and possibly finish that Skirmisher off. So let's do that. So we'll do Healing Word to start with, and then since that's a minor action, we will do either Lance of Faith or Sacred Flame as our standard action once we move into position. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do Healing Word, and it is a close burst, so we'll make sure that it gets... we'll have to actually move him. So let's see. Burst. How big of a burst is it? It's a 5. So if we move him 1, 2, and his speed is only 5. Oh, it's only, yeah, you're right. It is only one person in the burst. Okay, so that's fine. So Haldor is the one that needs it more. So we'll do the burst, and we'll give Haldor the healing, and Haldor can spend his healing surge, and then we'll go from there. So with it being a burst, though, I'm trying to figure out, does he need to be positioned in a place where he's not gonna Oh no, because it's only an ally, so it doesn't matter. So he's just going to move up here and do his burst, and we'll give it to Haldor. So that's pretty much it. So so Haldor gets to spend a healing surge. His surge value is a 7, and then plus 1d6 on top of that. So we'll go ahead and roll the 1d6. Jeez. So 1. So Haldor's going to get 8 hit points back. So that'll bring him back up to 22. Oops. Sorry. Card went away there. Which means that he is also not bloodied anymore. So he's in much better shape than he was. And now that is done, Therian can move, just can go right there. He sees that this skirmisher is not looking so well, so he figures he can probably finish him off. Does Therian have healer's lore? Yes, he does. When you grant healing, add 3 to the number of restored hit points. Okay, cool. So that's some more. Thank you for that. Another good observation there for the player. So that's 3 more hit points that he's going to get. That's going to put Haldor up at 25. So he's in pretty good shape now. Let's do we want Lance of Faith or Sacred Flame? I think I'm going to do Lance of Faith so that we can give a +2 power bonus to somebody else. So let's go ahead and do that. +3 versus reflex. So he's going against this skirmisher. And let's go ahead and do that. 4 plus 3 is 7. And I am pretty certain that this skirmisher has a reflex that's higher than 7, and it has a 14. So hopefully that doesn't come back to bite him, because now that he is engaged with this skirmisher, that could be a problem. So we'll see how that works out for him. And now we are back to the Kobold Worm Priest, who, according to the tactics, is going to lob the energy orbs at isolated characters. Which the only one is Ilara, and the range of those orbs is 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So she can get there. I'm sure he'll be fine. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? So the Worm Priest is actually going to lob an energy orb at Ilara. That seems to be what the tactics say that the Worm Priest would do. So that's what she's going to do. It has a range of 10, and Ilara is just in range of that. 1d6 plus reflex. Ilara has a reflex of 15. So, +6 versus reflex. Let's see what happens. That is going to be a 10, reflex of 15, so that will not hit. So that energy orb. The Worm Priest is 0 for 2 in attacks against the party. So we're in pretty good shape there. And I don't believe the Worm Priest is going to want to move at all. So we'll just keep going with it. The next one up is the Skirmisher. Oh boy. This is where Therian begins to maybe regret his decision. Spear. They're not in a combat. They're not in surprise anymore, so it doesn't have the combat advantage. +1 bonus per ally. There's no other allies. It can shift a square as a minor action. We might do that, but not right now. So I think this skirmisher is going to just go after Therian. It seems to be the this is the one that's right in his face and looks the most fragile. Which, let's see, I think the skirmisher is supposed to go after the most frail looking PC, and I would say Therian probably fits that description. So it's going to be this skirmisher is going to try to go after Therian with the spear. That's going to be a +6 versus armor class. 14 + 6 is 20, and Therian's armor class is only a 16, so that is going to hit. 1d8 damage, so just a straight 1d8 it looks like. Oh man, so yeah, so Therian did not make out so well there. So but it'll be fine. So getting a full 8 damage is going to be, I think 18 if my math is correct. So that's what the skirmisher did, and knocked Therian down to 18. I don't believe the skirmisher is going to get anything else to do. And now we get to the dragon shields again. So they are both ganged up on Haldor. Hey, Mr. Nerd Adventures, welcome. We are playing through a combat encounter in 4th edition right now from Keep on the Shadowfell. So these dragon shields are both around Haldor, and according to the tactics for the dragon shields, they are going to try to gang up. And they're also going to try to stay within 10 squares of their allies so that they can use their faith power, their insight faith power. So let's see. Let's take a look at the dragon shield stats here. So they're... Sorry, that was the Worm Priest. I don't know. I'm looking at the wrong paragraph. Dragon shields, they're going to concentrate their attacks on just trying to overwhelm. So there's really not much complicated about the dragon shields. They're just going after. And they get a +1 bonus for any attack roll per ally adjacent to target. So they will get attacks. They will get a bonus here. They can shift 1 square as a minor action. Yeah, we're running it pretty much close to how it's written. I would normally do some changes and we'd be a little more flexible with some things. But given the way that we're running in here, it's we're pretty much going to be following it by the book for the most part. So I think, let's see, I think I'm just going to have these dragon shields attack. I could get fancy and say that we're going to that he's going to give up an opportunity attack and try to get in position to flank Haldor and stuff, but he's got an intelligence of just 9, so it's a +0. And I think he's just mostly focused on just pure brute force and is just going to attack with his short sword. Haldor is, I believe Haldor is marked, right? Is marked by number 3. So, yeah, Haldor is marked by number 3. So, I think, which will basically just continue on. So we'll just have both of these attacks. So number 2 and number 3 are both going to attack Haldor. And then, if they, hit, then whichever one hits, if they hit, will mark him as well. So +7 versus armor class for both of these folks. They're not going to do anything fancier than that. Let's go ahead and just do it. +7 versus armor class for number 2. 6 + 7 is a 13 versus Haldor's armor class of 17. They get a +1 for having an ally adjacent. So that's going to be a 14. That's still going to miss. So number 2 is going to miss. And then let's go ahead and do number, that's going to be an 18 plus the 1 bonus for the ally plus the 7. We're at 26 versus the armor class in 17. So number 3 is going to hit. Number 3 is having more luck hitting Haldor than number 2 is, which means Haldor is still going to be marked by number 3 for another round. And the damage for this spear attack is going to be 1d6 plus 3. I don't know why I just did that. Three points of damage plus 3 is 6. Dragon Shield number 1, because the Worm Priest is going to try to keep a Dragon Shield in between itself and the enemies. I am also interpreting that to mean that Dragon Shield is being instructed to stay put and serve as a shield for that Worm Priest. So I'm not having Dragon Shield number 1 do anything just yet until absolutely necessary. So 3 plus 3 damage on Haldor is going to do 6 damage on Haldor. So let's go ahead and update that. 6 damage is going to drop him down to 19. And he is marked by number 3. I've got a note about that. And so I think we are good with our Dragon Shields. Dragon Shield number 1, as we just said, is going to stay put. And that brings us back to Alara. Alara, now let's have a look at what we want to do with her. So she is off way back here, keeping her distance. Last time, I believe she, I think she attacked, she used her, Scorching Burst, I believe it was, on the Dragon Shields and did a bit of damage on them. So if we want to keep concentrating her powers on that, then that would probably be the good way to go. Yeah, I think just stay here is about as basic as it gets, right? So... so I think for Alara, Scorching Burst still makes sense, because she can do each creature in that blast area. So, and it's +4 versus reflex. Let's have a look and see what their reflex is for these Dragon Shields. I don't suspect it is. So it's a 13, +4. So she would be doing pretty well, for that. So... trying to see if she's got anything else in here. I think that's still the best way to go. So I think for Alara, we're going to do Scorching Burst +4 versus Reflex. And that's going to be a burst that comes over here. And so we can try to get both of these Dragon Shields with it. So, so that's a good idea, Sean. I think we might try that one next time. So let's try to deal with these Dragon Shields, and then we'll see if we can use that sleep power since she's got that. That's a pretty good strategy. All right, so let's try the +4 versus reflex against these. So we got to roll for each of the enemies, 2 attack rolls, 1d20, +4 versus reflex. That is going to be a 15 versus a reflex of 13. So we will hit on number 2. And sorry, that wasn't the real dice roll. We will miss on number 3. I don't know why, for some reason, Roll20, every time I do something, it rolls the dice again. So I'm doing something weird. It didn't do that last time. So so we got a hit on number 2. We got a miss on number 3. So now we got damage 1d6 +4 fire damage on number 2. Let's give that one a go. 2 + 4, that's going to be 6 fire damage on number 2. Making slow progress on that. And then I don't believe it does anything else beyond that. So we didn't get any success on number 3 that round, but we'll keep working at it. We are with Haldor. Now, Haldor has, as with last time, he has a couple Dragon Shields around him. So... So let's see if we want to try to do cleave again, since he still has the 2 next to him. If we want to mix it up a little bit, we could try to do something else. Maybe this is an opportunity for us to, if he's going to try to finish these off, maybe we do the cleave and then we try to do an action point and see if he can get a couple of attacks. He is marked by number 3, so he has to attack number 3 one way or another. I think if we wanted to try to do his encounter power of spinning sweep, we could do that and use that up. I think one way or another, we are either going to use cleave and the action point, or we use up the encounter power. We could still use the action point even if we did that. So let me, let's see, which way do we want to go with that? Yeah, I haven't tried Foundry yet. I need to work. I've heard many good things about it, and I need to give it a try at some point. Roll20 is just where I'm comfortable. It's the one that I've used, though it is. I will admit that it's a little flaky at times. So, so I think I'm gonna go with Cleave, and then we'll see about maybe spending an action point on it. So he's got to attack number 3. So that's what we'll do. So he's going to, so let's see, 16 plus 6 versus the armor class of 18. So we are well over that. So he's going to hit number 3, and that's going to do 2d6 damage plus 3. Seven plus 3, that's 10 points of damage on number 3. So number 3 is definitely bloodied at this point. And then he gets to do 3 points of damage to number 2 as part of the cleave, which means that number 2 is also bloodied right now. All right, and so he is not going to do anything else. Now we've got Lyra. Lyra is still flanking the skirmisher, so I think we've probably got a pretty good chance of finishing off this skirmisher here. So let's take a look and see which thing, because she's got she's clearly got combat advantage now because she's flanking, and so she's going to get a +2 bonus for that. So I think Sly Flourish is probably the way to go. I think knowing, she knows that this skirmisher is not doing pretty well, so I don't think it makes much sense. I think she's going to be smart enough to just kind of keep it basic here. So I think just Sly Flourish. She doesn't need to move or anything, so Sly Flourish is really just the most basic thing that we can do, and we'll save the encounter attacks until we get to one of the larger creatures. There are ones that have more hit points left. So, all right. So Lyra is going to do Sly Flourish, which is a +8 versus armor class against the skirmisher. Let me pull that one up here. The armor class is 15, so +8 versus 15. 11 plus 8 is a 19 against a 15. That is definitely going to hit then. And she had a +2 for combat advantage as well, but she did not need it. And then we're going to roll a 1d4 +7. It's 1 + 7. That's going to be 8 points of damage, which is enough to deal with that skirmisher. So that skirmisher is done. Now Lyra has the freedom to move. Okay, so spinning sweep and then use our action point to cleave. That makes sense because we can attack both. So that might be a good one. We'll see. And I'm actually gonna move Lyra into position to be flanking, so that we can even get more. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So now flanking number 3. When we get down to Haldor again, we're going to have even better chance of making a hit there. So I think that's the way we'll go there. But I will keep, so, you know, a couple of our plans that we have is that we're going to do, we'll do the spinning sweep, use our action point, and then we can do cleave again, try to deal some more damage. And then we'll start using our encounter powers on once we get into the Worm Priest area. So we've got some strategy here that's playing out. So and then who we got next? That was Lyra, and now we're at Keldrick. So Keldrick, oh, I should have had Lyra go to a different position. Because Keldrick is not the one flanking number 3, but that's okay. He's going to go after number 3 anyway. And so let's see what he's got up his sleeve. So Keldrick has Valiant Strike. Oh, this one's got, so Valiant Strike, he's got a +7, and it'll be a +2 on top of that because the there's 2 enemies adjacent to number 3, and then it's going to do 1d8 +4 damage. So that's, and then we can action point, and I think we might, depending on how we do there, we might action point. So we'll see. There's a chance this one might have just enough hit points to survive. So, but let's give it a go and have a look and see how this works out. So Keldrick is going to attack number 3 using his Valiant Strike, which is going to be, it's going to be a +7 and then a +2 on top of that versus armor class against number 3. 16 +9 is going to be a 25 versus the armor class. Seriously, what's with the double rolls? Versus the armor class of 15. So that is going to hit. The important thing is, how is the damage going to be? 1d8 +4 damage. Oops. 5 +4 is going to be 9 points of damage on number 3. So that one is, he's still there, but he is not looking good. I think this is a good point for Keldrick to go ahead and spend his action point and do that again. So Keldrick is going to spend the action point and do another Valiant Strike on number 3. Let's just go ahead and do it. Oh, man. So 3 +7 +2 is going to be 10. That's going to be 12 versus armor class of 15. You know, just when you think you have a plan and it's all going to come together, the dice say, yeah, we'll just see about that. So that is not going to work. He's going to miss with his Valiant Strike attempt. So nothing doing there. But Therian is up, and Therian is free. He is no longer having to deal with this pesky skirmisher in his face. So let's have a look and see what he can possibly do. All right. What does he have that we might want to do? Healing Strike. Nobody really needs healing right now. I think everyone is actually looking pretty good. So I just hope the dice agree with me. Yeah, they didn't this time. That's for sure. So I think since nobody really needs healing, I think we're going to just stick with Lance of Faith or Sacred Flame. Nobody needs to do a saving throw. There we could do some temporary hit points. Lance of Faith does more damage, and then someone gets a bonus to their attack roll. So that's the one to go with. So he's going to move into position. Oh, that's a range. That's a ranged attack. Lance of Faith is a ranged attack. He doesn't have to get any closer. Perfect. Okay. So Therian can stay right where he is, and he can attack number 3 and then grant a bonus to somebody else on their next attack roll. So I think that's what we'll go. +3 versus reflex against Dragon Shield number 3. And let's go with that. So we're dealing with the Dragon Shields, not the Skirmishers anymore. Yeah, he's brooding. That's what he does. He's a brooder, and comes up with a plan. And his plan is his Lance of Faith, +3 versus reflex. 12 +3 is a 15 versus the Dragon reflex of 13. That is going to work. That's going to do 1d8 +3 damage, which I can tell you right now is going to be enough to take care of number 3. So number 3 is done. So, and then we get to grant a +2 power bonus to an ally on their next turn. I think probably any one of them could do well. I think Haldor, who goes next? Alara. Haldor would be the next one that's adjacent to an enemy. So let's go with Haldor. Gets a +2 bonus. On their next attack. So make a note of that. When it's Haldor's turn, he will get a +2 bonus on that attack. And we'll see how that one goes. All right. And we are moving along. Kobold Worm Priest. Kobold Worm Priest is going to keep doing this orb thing. Energy orb. That's what it says that they're going to do. Let's see. Does it have anything else? Contend to spend the first round or two sending energy orbs at isolated PCs. The Worm Priest tries to keep the Dragon Shields between itself and the PCs while staying within 10 squares of its allies so it can use its Insight Faith power. Oh, whoops. That one would have come in handy. So I missed that one on the monsters. So, but maybe we should try to do that now. We'll keep going with the acid energy orb. And probably send it at Therian, since that's the closest. It tried at Alara a couple times and it didn't work. So I think it's going to try to send it at Therian. And then Insight Faith is that's an encounter power anyway. So maybe it does try to do that now. So it's going to send it to Therian. Yeah. Dang it. So, all right, energy orb is going to go after Therian here. Let's go ahead and do that one. It is I'll bring that up. So the energy orb is range 10 +6 versus reflex. Let's go ahead and see how the Worm Priest does. Oh, finally it missed on the first two. And now it actually does what they hope. So nat 20 +6 is 26 on Therian. So that is going to be a hit versus Therian's reflex, which is a 10. So it's definitely a critical hit. And that is going to be 1d10 +3 acid damage. Oof. Oh, man. Therian's bearing the brunt of it here. So 9 +3, 12 acid damage for Therian. Oh, boy. I can tell you who needs healing. And it is our cleric. Oops. So just to give everybody a peek there, Therian is actually down to 6 hit points. So Therian is in need of some healing. So just something to keep in mind. we're going to move on to our skirmishers are gone, so there's no skirmisher left. There is just one Kobold Dragon Shield left. Oh, it is max. So technically he's down by another one. I don't know why I rolled that. I forgot that was max. So that doesn't make it any better for him. So down to 5 hit points. But Dragon Shield number 2 is up, and Dragon Shield number 2 is not marked. I thought he was marked, but no. So and Haldor actually is not marked either anymore, because the Dragon Shield that was marking him is no longer a threat. So there we go. So Dragon Shield number 2 is going to attack Haldor. And this, let's see what we got. +1 bonus. Nope, there's no other enemies, so that doesn't help him at all. So short sword +7 versus AC on Haldor. Haldor's AC is a 17. So let's go ahead and do that. Roll d20. 8 +7 is a 15. And I don't believe there's anything else. Haldor's armor class is 17, so he caught a break on this one and is going to miss with that attack. So no damage from that one this time around. And now we are to Ilara. And let's see what she's got. So we had talked about trying to use sleep on the two other, the Worm Priest and the other Dragon Shield. So maybe now is the time that we do that. Yeah, 'tis but a flesh wound. So why don't we do that? This is a burst, area burst 2 within 20 squares. We are fine there. Each creature in the burst, the target would be slowed. If the target fails its first saving throw, the target falls asleep. Okay, and then if you miss, the target is slowed, but they don't have the option to on the save. So, all right. So I think we were in agreement that was our strategy. We'll use the daily power of sleep for. So Ilara has the sleep power that is. We'll do a +4 versus will to try to see if we can slow these targets, and then maybe even put them to sleep, depending on how that goes. Let's see, wand accuracy for +2 on her next spell. All right, that's good. So that'll give her a +2 bonus. So we're going to be a +6 versus will. Anything else that we need to take into account here? It doesn't look like it. Now she has an action surge that gives her a +3 bonus to any attack roll she makes when she spends her action point. That makes me think we should do something else first, then spend the action point, and then do the sleep, because then she can get a +5. She'll use her wand once per encounter as a free action. She can get the wand. So if we hold off on that one, we could get a +5 on top of the +4. So we get a +9 versus will on the sleep attack. If we do that one after spending the action point. And then I'm wondering if maybe we do, what if we do Scorching Burst to get started with just regular, and then we'll do the action point, and then we'll get our +9 versus will on the sleep to try to see what we can do with the sleep thing. I think that makes sense for that. So I will slowly go back to the other screen here. So I think the plan is for Ilara, who is back here. So if we have Ilara do Scorching Burst on both of these, she'll do her burst there and try to deal some damage, then spend her action point and do sleep using her wand, which will give her a +2 and a +3 for her because she gets an action surge bonus of +3. And then, and she'll have +9 versus will. So going with it. Scorching Verse, +4 versus reflex. 18 +4 is 22. And so that'll be against the Worm Priest. The Worm Priest has a reflex of 15. So definitely hits the Worm Priest. Next, there's a Dragon Shield. And we'll do this one again. 14 +4 is 18. The Dragon Shield's reflex is 13. So that we're going to hit both of them. And so 1 damage roll then is 1d6 +4 fire damage. So let me do that. 2 +4, 6 damage on the Worm Priest and the Dragon Shield. The Dragon Shield is... And then our Worm Priest is actually the same. Okay. All right. So then, now she will spend her action point, and she will do sleep. So, and with her wand, that gives, so once per encounter, she can use her wand, and that's going to give her a +2 bonus. And then she has the action surge feat, which gives her a +3 bonus when she uses her action surge. And then it's +4 versus will, which is a +9 versus will. And it's every creature in the burst. So basically the same 2 creatures will start with the Worm Priest. +9 is going to be a 20 versus will. The will of 15, so that is going to hit. And then we will do the Dragon Shield. Oh, okay, well, we'll miss the Dragon Shield, but that's okay. So, okay, yep, we will miss the Dragon Shield, but we'll get the Worm Priest. And then the target is now slowed. And then when it's her turn again, or her turn, whatever, she will roll a save and see if she actually falls asleep. All right. So, did some damage. Possibly are on our way to maybe putting the Worm Priest to sleep. And we'll see how that plays out. Next up, we got Haldor again. Now, Haldor has a +2 bonus that he picked up from, I believe, Therian. Hey, Emmy. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for hanging in there. All right. So let's see what Haldor's got. He's got a +2 bonus, and he's got this #2 Dragon Shield right in his face. Let's see what we can do here. Oops, wrong. That's not Haldor. So let me flip over here, and let's see what Haldor's got. Cleave. I feel like, oh, okay. So I feel like I want to save Spinning Sweep because that's an encounter power. And, you know, we still have two monsters up there to deal with. So why don't we do Reaping Strike? And that'll do some decent damage if we can hit with it. And we do have a +2 bonus. And so let's go. I think we should go with that. So we'll do Reaping Strike, +2 bonus on the attack because Therian did that for us, which gives us a +8 versus armor class is what I'm going for here. So Haldor is attacking Dragon Shield #2 with a +8 versus armor class using Reaping Strike. Yeah. Well, you know, what are you going to do? Action point. That's what you're going to do, right? He didn't use his action point yet. So, that's what, and Alara also used her. So we're going through those action points fairly quickly, but we'll see. What do we think? Action point? The bonus was to Haldor. Therian had cast Lance of Faith, and that gave him and he was allowed to put a +2 bonus to an ally, and so he gave Haldor the +2 bonus to use on his next attack. So that's where the +2 bonus came for Haldor. But I think we're going to have Haldor do his action point and try that again, because he can't possibly miss twice, right? Let's see. And it's going to be a plus, and it was just his next attack, so he's going to only still have a +6 now. Let me just make sure if that's the case, because I think it was just his next attack. Yeah, on his next attack. So he lost his extra +2 with that one. So he's got a +6 versus armor class 16 versus 18. Nope. So Haldor, he's an older dwarf, and he started out strong. I think he got a critical hit early on, but he just doesn't have the stamina that he used to have when he was a younger dwarf, and just can't quite bring it. But we'll see how he does. Maybe he can do something a little later on, but it wasn't going to happen this round. And then we go to Lyra. So here's a question. Do we want... Haldor can move and give up an opportunity attack. He's down a little bit on hit points, but if we want to give up an opportunity attack, then Lyra could also do the same. But but the number 2 would have already done an opportunity attack. So basically, I think she can move for free, because I think you only get one opportunity attack. Even if it's a different person. So opportunity attack 290. Oh, no, but you can take any number during the round. So no. So they would each get an opportunity attack. I think that's probably too much to risk. So we'll just have Lyra do a straight up attack then. That's what she's going to do. Okay. Lyra is going to do positioning strike. So she can do 2d4 damage, and she can slide the target 3 squares, which would pull that target into flanking position between her and Haldor. So basically they'd be positioned to be able to do an attack. And she still has a daily power that she could work with. So, which does even more stuff. So I think that would be the way to go. So I think we're going to do that. Positioning strike for Lyra, +8 versus Will. Can he shift? Oh, he didn't move. Is a shift a move action? Oh. I didn't even think about that. Oh, it sure is. Okay, look at that. All that talk. Okay. So Haldor is going to use his move action to shift. And then, so that's the end of his turn. Now we're at Lyra's turn, and Lyra is going to use her move action to shift. And now they are flanking. All right, got it. Perfect. So now she has combat advantage, which means she can get her sneak attack damage, and if she hits, and she gets +2 for her attack. So perfect. So now I still think that trying to think, do we want to still use positioning strike? I think we still use positioning strike. I think we just go for it and try to finish this one off with positioning strike, and she can save her trick strike for for later on. So let's go with that one. So +8 versus will, but a +2 bonus for flanking. That'll be a +10 versus will. So let me flip back over here. This dragon shield has a will of 13, and we're going to get a +10. So as long as we roll at least a 3, we got this. Sweet. That is how you do that. And we're going to get sneak attack damage, which is a 2d8 on top of this. So positioning strike is 2d4 +4, and then we're going to get a 2d8 for our sneak attack. So roll 2d4 plus 2d8. That is 13 points of damage +4 on top of that. That is 17 points of damage. And if anyone was keeping track at home, they would know that that is exactly the number of hit points that number 2 had remaining. So done. That is how you do that. Shifts, planning ahead with the tactics, sneak attack, combat advantage, all the things, and then exactly the right numbers on the dice rolls. So Lyra showing everybody how this is done. All right. So now she used her move action and she used her encounter power. So I don't think there's anything else left for her to do. And now it is Keldrek's turn, and he has nothing impeding him from heading towards this worm priest and seeing what he can do. And I think he is in full on rage here. Let's see what's his speed. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He can't actually get in range. 1, 2, 3, 4. He can get in range of the dragon shield. He can't actually get to the worm priest. But I am thinking that we put oops. Hang on. I'm thinking that we take Keldrek and we move him up to this spot here, and go ahead and use either Radiant Smite or Paladin's Judgment and just start dealing some big damage. Yeah, exactly, Aaron. Yes. There were several moments early on where we had the opposite feeling, where we were just, what are we even doing here? But then we get these where it's like, oh, that just all came together like we knew what we were doing. So it all balances out. All right. So I'm Dragon Breath. He's going to use Dragon Breath. That's a minor action too. Okay. I got it. Here we go. Another plan. So Keldrek, here we go. Let's move. Let's go back to this screen here so we can have a better look at it. So Keldrek is going to move here. And then as a minor action, he is going to do his Dragon Breath against both of these. And then because that's a minor action, he is still going to use his Valiant Strike to deal some, try to deal some damage. And he can even mark a target here. So, well, no, he'd have to make a choice there. So he's going to use his minor action for Dragon Breath. So let's go for it. Keldrek moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. In position. First, minor action and counter power. Going to do Dragon Breath +4 versus Reflex. It is a blast 3, so it will encompass both of them. Let's see what the dice say about this plan. They say not today. It's versus Reflex, so it's a 9 versus Reflex. The Dragon Shield has a Reflex of 13, and the Worm Priest has a Reflex of 15. So that part of the plan did not work as desired. He still gets Valiant Strike, though. We're going to still use that as our standard action, which is going to be a +7 There's only the one enemy. Well, I guess it's +1, so he does have an enemy adjacent to him, right? So +8 versus that enemy's armor class. This is the dragon shield that he's adjacent to. So the armor class is 18, so he's going to get a +8 versus 18. Let's see how he does there. +8 is going to be a 21 versus 18. That is what you call a success. And that's going to do 1d8 plus 4 damage. 2 plus 4, 6 damage. Not spectacular, but not awful either. So unfortunately, the dragon breath did not work out for him. So that is unfortunate, but overall, not too bad. All right, now, fortunately, Therian managed to survive back to his turn. And that is important because Therian is down to 5 hit points. And therefore, without question, Therian needs to heal. So let's see what... I think Therian will probably... He has another... He can use Healing Word again. So I think that... Oh! Yep, you are right. I only rolled for the 1. So, sorry, we're going to do a little retconning. Thank you. Sorry. You know, this... I'll let it go because it would have... we would have caught it... If we were at a table, we would have caught it. So... 10 plus the 4 is 14 versus reflex. And against the dragon shield, they have a 13. So I know I'm doing a little bit of... I'm bending the rules a little bit here. But whatever. Sue me. I could take the attitude. It's my game. I can do what I want. So that dragon breath, I only rolled the dragon breath attack roll against the worm priest. I didn't roll it against the dragon shield. I needed to roll the attack against each creature. So we missed the worm priest, but rolling now for the dragon shield, we actually got a 14 versus the dragon shield's reflex of 13. So we will hit the dragon shield, and that's going to be 1d6 damage. And that's what we get for that. So you know, you kind of bend the rules a little bit, and somehow the dice say, yeah, we will just see about that. So, all right, whatever. So it didn't make much difference. It's all good. So, all right. So Therian, sorry, back to Therian. I think we're going to do Healing Word. He's got one more time he can expend it. And that lets him do a healing surge and get 1d6 hit points back. So that seems to be the most logical thing that we will do here. His healing surge value is a 6, and then he can do a 1d6 on top of that, which is a 4, which means he's going to get 10 of his hit points back, bringing him up to 15. So not too bad. Still not great, but he can kind of keep his distance now, and hopefully that works out okay for him. All right, let's see. That Healing Word is a minor action. So he actually could now still do Lance of Faith, which I think probably is the way to go. He can... It's a... so ranged 5... and it's +3 versus reflex. So I think he's gonna, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he'll just move. He can move just a little bit closer. He doesn't have to get fully in range. And then he can attack Dragon Shield number 1. And then he'll be able, if he hits, he can give Keldrick a bonus. So let's go for that. +3 versus reflex. Oh, he gets 3 more hit points. Sorry, because he has healing lore. healing lore actually gives him another 3 hit points. So I forgot that one. I healed before too, and now, so he's actually at 18 hit points. So +3 versus reflex. 18 versus the reflex of the dragon shield, which is 13. So that is going to hit. So it's going to do 1d8 plus 3 radiant damage. That is 7 damage on this dragon shield. And that dragon shield is now bloodied, so that helped. And the Keldrek has a +2 bonus. Now, do we have... I feel as though... Yep, I just caught the healer's roll. We had missed that before, and so there we got it. So, I'm wondering now it's a question of action points. Do we want to spend an action point? We could do healing strike. Do some radiant damage. Target would be marked. No, we don't want to. I don't know that we want to mark the target. Then it's going to want to attack us. So, we'll hold off on that one. So, yeah, we'll hold off on that. Let's move. Let's see. So we got the Worm Priest. Let's just keep it rolling. Let's just keep going. I don't want to linger too long on any one monster. So let's go to the Worm Priest and see what this Worm Priest is going to do. Still got these energy orbs, but now it's got people that are actually getting close here. So, it has Dragon Breath also, but Keldrek is kind of in the way, and I don't think that this Worm Priest is going to want to expose itself by moving around the area. So if I don't know, I feel like it's still going to try to just do this energy orb, and there's a good chance that this Worm Priest might be making a run for it. I think that's what's happening here. Their intelligence is not actually that great, but maybe just enough with some survival instinct. Yeah, this Worm Priest is making a run for it. This Worm Priest clearly is hiding behind the dragon shield this entire fight, and now seeing that these dragon shields and everybody are falling by the wayside, it recognizes that it's just a matter of time before it doesn't it's not around anymore. So I think it's gonna move away. That's what it's doing. So it has a speed of 6, and it's gonna use that 6 to start moving away. I'll just move it there for now. It's gonna try to disappear into the woods. I think that makes sense. So, and with that, the dragon shield is gonna run some interference, being the nice loyal servant that it is, and is going to attack Keldrek. And +7 versus armor class. Keldrek's armor class is a 20. So let's go ahead and do that. 3 + 7 is 10. So it tries to attack Keldrek, but it misses sorely. And now we have all of our heroes lined up to see what they can do with this dragon shield. Elara is the first in line, and I think... Oh, it is slowed. Yeah, that's a good point. So, I only moved it 3, which actually fits because it's only moving half its speed. So... Or it could actually move 2. So, sorry, I did move it. I think it can only move 2 squares. So, there you go. Put it back where it should be. Elara already spent her action point. She already used her sleep power. She has not used burning hands, but she would have to move. She's not in range to get there for that one. Scorching Burst. Oh, the Dragon Shield needs to do a save. Yep, thank you. Needs to do a save. Let's do the save. Both of them need to do saves. Who are we kidding? So let's do the Worm Priest first. I should have done that one. Failed. The Worm Priest is actually asleep. And then we will do the Dragon Shield. Also failed. So they are both asleep now, right? Yes? Well, there you go. So both of them failed their save. And as a result, they are asleep. So let's have a look. So asleep puts them in the unconscious condition. They wake up if they take any damage. -5 penalty to all defenses. Can't take any actions. They fall prone, and they can't flank any enemies. So basically, they are asleep, and there's really nothing else we need to do. If we were to attack them, then they would wake up, which I think kind of goes against what we're after here. So, in my mind, I think we've completed this encounter. I think that we have defeated all of these kobolds, and rather than try to attack them and have them wake up and then have to deal with them while they're awake, we can pretty much just loot the bodies and be on our way, and that'll be the end of that. So that's my feeling. Coup de grace. Ooh, that's interesting. You don't get to use that one very often, do you? So, and we got Haldor and Lyra coming up. Another 4th edition feature. Helpless target. So use any attack power you could normally use against the enemy, including a basic attack. If you deal damage, so if you hit, it's a critical hit. If you deal damage greater than or equal to the target's bloodied value, the target dies. So it's an auto crit. That, I think, yeah, we could do that. Definitely we can do that on the Dragon Shield. I think, yeah, that Dragon Shield is right there. And I think that's the way to go. Now, Keldrek's the only one in position to do that. So, if we want to go that route, but we'd either have to, I guess, I mean, it has to be adjacent to you. So it can't be a target that is, Alara couldn't do a spell on it. She's nowhere near. So she would have to just basically kind of give up her turn or hold her action. Haldor could move around and get to, let's see, what's his speed? 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's not going to anywhere near. Lyra. So Lyra could move. And, 1, 2, what's her speed? Lyra's speed is 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, he didn't need a save. You're right. Okay. Oh, Well, then all of the discussion about the coup de grace doesn't really mean anything, because I don't think we're not going to do that on her, on the Worm Priest. We would do it on the Dragon Shield, but the Dragon Shield didn't fall asleep. It's just slowed. So that doesn't really change anything. So I think we're kind of back to Alara, and what do we want her to do? I think for the sake of trying to deal the most damage, I think we just do Scorching Burst. I think that probably makes the most sense. It's versus Reflex, which is a 13. She gets a +4. Not really any other bonuses that she gets. She already used her Wand of Accuracy. She's already pretty much used up all her extra stuff. So I think we just do Scorching Burst on the Dragon Shield. And it's within 10 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. We're just in range. So let's just keep it simple. Let's just keep moving. We kind of lingered a little bit there. 14 +4, that's 18 versus Reflex. Reflex is 13. So no question that's going to do 1d6 +4 damage. That's 3 +4. That's going to be 7 damage on the Dragon Shield. This Dragon Shield is bloodied, by the way. I thought I had already marked it, but oh no, I did. It is marked. I don't see it on the screen, but it's marked, so it's bloodied. All right, let's keep moving. We're getting to the end here. I don't think we need to linger too much on some of the specifics. Now it's just brute force. Let's finish this. All right, Haldor. Haldor's way down here, and he only has a speed of 5. So we'll move him closer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we will move Haldor so that he's kind of in position, but he can't get any closer than that. So I think we'll move him, and I don't think we're going to get back around to him anyway. So that's fine. So Lyra is up next, and she had used her positioning strike before. She has a speed of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So she could get there, and she could do a trick strike. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Her speed is 6. So this is difficult terrain, so she can, that's fine. 5, 6. So now she can do a trick strike. Just to get the damage. This is just to give her the extra damage. So she'll do a trick strike, and let's see what happens there. +18 +8 versus armor class. That's 26 versus the armor class of 18. So no issues. This is going to do 3d4 +4 damage. Six, 7, 8, 9 +4 is 13 damage, and that is why I just had her do her brute force attack, because that is all she wrote for this Dragon Shield. The amount of damage, as long as she hit, she was going to do pretty well to deal with that Dragon Shield. So that is the last of the Dragon Shields. I think we'll just let the Worm Priest run away, and rather than try to chase it down and finish it off. We will just let the Worm Priest run away. So I think we have done what we need to do for this particular encounter. And with that done, they have defeated the Kobolds, with the exception of the Worm Priest. So we can now go and loot the bodies. We won't get, obviously, because the Worm Priest ran away, if ever so slowly, but we didn't give chase. So we won't get anything that was on the Worm Priest. So the only thing that we're actually going to find on the kobolds is a total of 5 gold and 23 experience. So I'm going to make a note. 23 XP, or excuse me, silver experience. Sorry, I saw the question pop up in the chat while I was reading the gold, and I misspoke. So 5 gold, 23 silver, and so I think we don't get the Worm Priest. I'll switch over to the other side here. So the Worm Priest actually did have some like a statue on it. There's a whole big thing about that, but we did not defeat the Worm Priest. The Worm Priest ran away, and we allowed the Worm Priest to run away. So we don't get that. We're just going to get the gold and the silver. That encounter took quite a bit out of the party. This is they used up pretty much all of their powers. So this seems like the type of thing they're going to want to head back to Winterhaven and do. I can't run. All right, they didn't give chase. It's asleep, but they also didn't disturb it. So, do we feel that they would be able to search the body without waking the body up? If we think that that's possible, then I'm good with that. So, all right, I take it back. Since the Worm Priest is asleep, they managed to find the necklace, and there's a dragon figurine carved out of obsidian on this necklace, and on the bottom of that figurine is an outline of a skull with a ram's horn. And we'll save the there's a religion check that we could do to determine what that figure means. I'll save that. We'll get into that for next time. So we're just going to take that necklace back, and we're going to take that back into Winterhaven, and then we'll kind of examine it, and maybe we start out our next session. We'll kind of do a search of that necklace and try to decipher what is etched on it and what that means. So we'll do a little bit more role playing at the beginning of next session before we set out again, trying to find the Kobold lair, because that was really where we were heading out here. So, but we took a lot of time with that encounter, and it went. But we had some strategic victories, a couple poor dice rolls along the way, or unfortunate dice rolls. But overall, I think we did pretty well on this one. So we've picked up some gold. We picked up some XP. We've got some kind of figurine that we've got to figure out what it means. We will get back next time. We will go back to Winterhaven and do a little bit more, and then we will head out to the Kobold lair. That is our ultimate goal here, is to go find the kobolds in their lair and deal with them, so we can collect that treasure and do and collect our 100 gold pieces. So this was a longer session than normal, so I appreciate everyone sticking with me, and hope you had a great time. I had a good time going through it myself. I love playing these encounters and doing the strategy and all of that, so I had a good time with it. So we'll pick it up next time, and we'll see how it goes from there. If you've got any thoughts about how we could run these a little smoother or faster, I'd love to hear those down in the comments, so please do leave those suggestions for me if you have any thoughts on that. And as I said, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to help me out in other ways, there are links in the description that you could use when you make some other purchases, and that would help me out as well. So, but with that said, hope you can join me next week when we do this again, and I look forward to that one. So until next time, take care, everyone.